Hello, wonderful person. Wish you a very good health. One of the world's biggest gold coins is a 221-pound behemoth from Canada called the Big Maple Leaf. Until March 2017, the 21 inches wide, 1 inch thick coin had been housed in Berlin's Bode Museum, but it was stolen on March 27, 2017, and police have no idea how the thieves pulled it off. Police is still investigating, but this theft got us thinking about past robberies, where thieves got away with priceless objects or big amount of cash. While it's too early to say whether the Berlin coin robbery will go down in history like the following unsolved heists, but it definitely fits the bill as an interesting crime caper. Welcome to Mystery TV 9. In many ways, the Dutch Room of Boston's transportive Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is typical, lit by arched Venetian windows overlooking a verdant inner courtyard and tastefully stuffed with Gardner's hand-picked collection amid period chairs and cabinets, candelabras and other trinkets. European portraits play dramatically with dark and light. Over by the entrance, a lone Rembrandt gazes out. It's an early self-portrait, painted at just 23, gauzy scarf around his neck, textured feather wilting off his pillowy cap. This is the painting that inspired the entire museum after acquiring it. Gardner focused on procuring masterpieces and transformed a former swamp into a palace for her prizes. But here is where things get bizarre. On the wall across from the Rembrandt are two large empty frames, displaying nothing but the satiny Baroque wallpaper underneath. To the right, another set of empty frames sit propped back to back on a desk. On the left, a stamp-sized void beckons from the side of a cabinet over strains of maudlin violin. On the audio tour, the museum's director of security, Anthony Amore, explains the scene. You're about to hear the story of a horrific robbery that deprived the Gardner Museum and you, the public, of some of the greatest masterpieces in America. Prestigious paintings were once in those empty frames. They're now remnants of a nefarious crime. This theft-centric tour follows the footsteps of the duo that committed it, with intimate details of the night. And there's a bonus if visitors realize they have evidence to help recover the art. It could mean a whopping $10 million reward. You may have heard this story before from the dozens of newspaper articles, and if you're from Boston, odds are you can probably recite the basics by heart. In the wee hours following St. Patrick's Day on Sunday, March 18th, 1990, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum was the victim of the biggest art heist in modern history. Unlike the movies, the thieves didn't drop in from the ceiling, rappel down walls, or even shut down systems with fine-honed hacking techniques. These guys, they just walked right on in. At 1:24 a.m., two men masquerading as Boston police officers, complete with mustaches, announced themselves over the exterior intercom, claiming to be responding to reports of a disturbance. After getting buzzed in, which is against protocol, they overpowered two young security guards, haphazardly duct-taped their eyes and mouths, and handcuffed them to pipes in the basement. Then they got down to business. 13 pieces were lifted that night, including 2 Rembrandts of Vermeer, 6 sketches by Degas, and a Manet, weighing in at a grand total of $500 million. The case still remains unsolved, but if you're the one to help crack it, you could be looking at that $10 million reward. Lost treasure and not found treasure. In 1955, Teddy Tucker discovered what was considered one of the most valuable finds of the 1594 shipwreck, the San Pedro, a Spanish galleon. It was a 7 emerald-studded, 22-carat gold cross. On each of the arms and at the base of the cross were rings which hung tiny gold nails, representing the nails of the crucifixion. It was an amazing find. Tucker was a professional treasure hunter, diving off the coast of Bermuda when he uncovered the cross in shallow waters. After diving for days and finding quite a few relics from the shipwreck, but nothing spectacular, but he was astonished when seeing the cross resting face down in the sands. Turning it over, he saw the large emeralds and realized he had a truly magnificent find. Perseverance paid off. So you might wonder, why is the title Lost Treasure and not Found Treasure? Because this historical treasure has since gone missing. Initially, the cross was housed at the Bermuda Maritime Museum, owned by Teddy Tucker and his wife. The museum displayed many items found from shipwrecks, along with other maritime exhibits. The Tucker cross, named after Teddy, who found it, was one of the most exquisite on display. It wasn't noticed the cross was missing right away, or that it had actually been stolen. Persons responsible knew exactly what they were doing and replaced the cross with a good enough replica to go unnoticed for how long. No one knows exactly. 1975, Queen Elizabeth II was planning to visit the museum. It was shortly before the arrival of the Queen that the cross in the museum was realized not to be the treasure found just 20 years before. To this date, no one knows when exactly the treasure was stolen or who took Tucker's cross, valued at over $250,000. Today, a replica sits in its place at the museum, a reminder of the treasure found. The real cross, however, is once more a lost treasure waiting to be discovered again. Who will find the cross this time? Where does this precious relic wait to be discovered and returned for all to enjoy? Or will it ever be found again? Answer lies in the future. Plymouth mail truck robbery. In August 1962, a team of criminals, dressed as police officers and armed with guns, ambushed a mail truck traveling from Plymouth, Massachusetts, to the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Using an elaborate scheme involving fake highway workers and traffic detours, the men got away with $1.5 million in cash, all in bills smaller than $20, and only some of it recorded in what was at the time the largest cash heist in history. The postal workers were blindfolded, bound and gagged, and put in the back of the truck. One of the men got in the driver's seat and drove for a while before abandoning the truck with the mailman still inside. The remaining defendants were found not guilty. However, the money was never recovered. Brinksmat robbery in Britain. In the morning hours of November 26, 1983, 6 men wearing balaclavas entered a warehouse at London's Heathrow Airport belonging to security company Brinksmat. The warehouse vault contained more than $3 million in cash, which the robbers knew because they had help from the inside. What they didn't know was that the vault also contained more than 3 tons of gold bullion. The armed men tied up the guards and poured gasoline on them, threatening to light a match if they didn't offer up the keys and the codes to the vault. The thieves loaded the gold into a van and drove off, but they weren't free for very long. The inside man, Anthony Black, was implicated fairly quickly and squealed on his comrades. Another not-so-smart robber, Mickey McAvoy, reportedly used his cut to pay cash for a house and bought 2 security dogs, which he named Brinks and Matt, to guard the property. He and Black's brother-in-law, Brian Robinson, were sentenced to 25 years in prison. But police could never recover most of the gold. The Great Train Robbery in England. On August 8, 1963, a train going from Glasgow to London was ambushed on the Bridego Railway Bridge in Buckinghamshire by a group of 15 robbers who rigged the track signals to stop the train in a remote location. The robbers didn't have guns, but they did beat up the train driver before running away with over £2.6 million, which is equivalent to $61 million in present time. They fled to a hideout, which police would later find and collect evidence from to prosecute most of the gang. However, the money was never recovered. Ringleaders were sentenced to 30 years in prison, including Ronald Arthur, Ronnie Biggs, who later escaped, and Bruce Napoleon Reynolds published the autobiography of a thief, the man behind the Great Train Robbery in 1995. Large bank robberies and jewel heists still occur around the world. The means, methods, and of course the money that follows these massive thefts are always intriguing. Some of the planning is creative and daring, and sometimes bizarre. Some thieves plan for years, and others for mere weeks. Often, the perpetrators get caught in the act, or soon after, though many are quite successful, with much of the cash still unaccounted for. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for upcoming videos.